gonna...
I know.
I know.
I know.
We gotta get down so we can get back up.
I know. Bill, then go up.
Down, up.
Down, up.
Okay? Just trust me, all right? Here, use my sleeve. Not for your nose, I meant for your eyes, but thank you so much.
Sorry, okay.
Hey guys, welcome to Garbage Time. I'm your host, Katie Nolan, and I am a doctor. Tonight on the show, I'll give you something to help that football withdrawal you're feeling right now. I take down the dictionary. It's about time someone did. And we get a visit from the future. But first, you may have heard rumblings over the last few weeks about a controversy brewing at Baylor University. Something about an investigation into how they handle sexual assault allegations, particularly those related to their football team. Well, last week, those rumblings turned into...
Baylor University fired its head football coach today and demoted its president, Kenneth Starr.
A sex abuse scandal involving football players has led to sweeping changes at the school.
It's in reaction to the findings in the Pepper-Hamilton report that the school also released today.
It said 2 university administrators directly discouraged complainants from reporting, and in one case even retaliated against someone who reported a sexual assault.
University administrators retaliated against someone who reported a sexual assault. Yeah, you can go ahead and file that under sentences that should never, ever have to be printed, right next to persons having currently active diarrhea or who have had active diarrhea within the previous 14 days shall not be allowed to enter the pool water. That is a real sign that's required to be posted at every public pool in California. CA, what's going on with your butts? I read the 13-page findings of fact from that Pepper-Hamilton investigation, and it's bad. Baylor as a whole was completely unequipped to properly handle reports of sexual assault or rape from its students. But within the football program, it was even worse. The report found that the athletic department, quote, created a cultural perception that football was above the rules and that, quote, the choices made by football staff posed a risk to campus safety. Those choices included things like conducting their own untrained internal inquiries, interviewing alleged victims and or their family members directly, protecting athletes from the school's normal student conduct processes, and helping problematic players transfer to other schools. And if that's not driving home for you just how atrocious Baylor was at helping students in times of need, listen to what happened when one student reached out to the university for help after she says she was raped by a member of the football team.
Then she asked for help from Baylor and was directed to Bethany McCraw, the chief judicial officer.
She essentially said, "Why are you here?" And I said, "Well, Tevin Elliott, I don't know if you know Tevin Elliott." She's like, "Oh yeah, and I goes, he raped me." And she goes, "Yeah, you're the 6th girl to come in and tell me this."
You're the 6th girl to come in and tell me this. 6 people. You needed to... What happened after the first 5? So yeah, that's why they fired head coach Art Briles. They also, by the way, sanctioned athletic director Ian McCaw, who then resigned on Monday, and just this morning, former president Ken Starr resigned as chancellor, the position the university had allowed him to keep for some reason for 8 days. He's still going to teach law at Baylor, though, so students be on the lookout for What Not to Do 101 with Professor Starr next fall. Firing Art Briles was clearly the right move here, and yet it was still considered shocking by a lot of people. Why? Well, because as every news report this week made sure to remind you, Briles was good.
The Regents fired a brilliant cash-generating coach. Art Briles always came across as likable, and he proved himself an offensive genius.
2 Big 12 titles, a Heisman Trophy, and a brand new $250 million stadium. Those are just a few moments and things that people will remember Art Briles during his time at Baylor.
For everything that Art Briles has done for the school on the field, the success that he's had, certainly there had to be a lot of hard evidence for them to make this decision.
Seriously? Firing Briles was the right thing to do, and minor kudos to Baylor for making that call. But let's not get ahead of ourselves and call this progress. Victims Real people, your sisters, your daughters, your friends, were ignored, silenced, and discredited under this man's watch, or worse, his command. And if you think that's a problem unique to Baylor, then please may I borrow your unicorn so I can fly up and meet you at the cloud paradise in which you live. It sounds lovely. This is a systemic problem in college sports. We've seen it time and again. There's so much money to be made by winning. And all the measures that schools put in place to supposedly keep awful things like what happened at Baylor from happening, they aren't working because they get in the way of winning, which gets in the way of money. Maybe you're thinking, hey, with the NFL, when we see these issues of sexual violence or domestic violence or other distractions, we look to the commissioner to make things right. I mean, he doesn't do much, but boy, do we look to him. Well, in college football, there isn't a centralized commissioner to even look at, but there are conference commissioners. And for Baylor's conference, the Big 12, that man is Bobby Bowlesby. Seriously, that's his name, Bobby Bowlesby. I assume he inherited the conference from Johnny Wins-A-Lot. Let's see what Commissioner Bowlesby has to say about what's happening at Baylor.
I don't think you could find anything in our bylaws that would say the conference has any regulatory province or has any particular imperative on this. Each institution is expected to manage its own student affairs activities. Those are things that reside with the individual campuses, not with the conference. All of us would have been just fine if we didn't have to deal with it.
Right? Would have been just fine if we didn't have to deal with it. Man, what a pain. They don't pay you enough to deal with this kind of stuff, Bobby. Except that Bobby Bowlesby made $2.3 million in 2014. And that's because the best conferences have the highest paid commissioners, which means these men are basically incentivized to sweep things under the rug, like a teenage boy that's been asked to clean his room. So, okay, here's where we're at. The commissioner won't fix this because it'll cost him money. The schools won't fix this because it'll cost them money. And we have to accept that that's the case. That's how it's always going to be. So we've got two options. We can either keep pretending these people are going to wake up one morning and be like, oh, wow, ethics. I should have those. Or we can think like them and find a way to make investigating players for alleged sexual misconduct beneficial instead of a big old burden. And it's this line of thinking, this craziness that has led me to what I believe is the solution. Is it logical? No. Is anything about this situation logical? No. So here it is. To make this as easy as possible to understand, I'm going to draw this up like a play for you because football is everything. So let's say responsibility is the football. We've got conferences handing it off to individual schools, and then we've got individual schools repeatedly fumbling the out of it. So what does that mean? That means the ball, responsibility, is going to end up in the hands of the opposing team. Huh? You see where I'm going with this? Enter outside investigators. It's a person hired by a team, paid by a team to investigate the players on all the other teams. Competition is what drives all of this in the first place, right? So let's use that to fix this thing. Whichever team catches the other teams doing bad more will win more games. All right, let's say your school's playing Baylor on Saturday, right? Playing Baylor. And their star defensive lineman has been accused, 6 times of sexually assaulting a student on campus, but he hasn't been suspended. That should infuriate you for a number of reasons, but I give up on trying to convince you of most of them. He shouldn't be on the field. And if he isn't, you've got a better chance of winning. So your outside investigator follows up on all those outstanding complaints filed against that player that are just sitting there at the other school. Boom, he's suspended, you win. And if you're thinking, the NCAA is not going to be cool with this, well, I say you're wrong, because the NCAA loves not doing and they don't have to do in this scenario. Look, is it a perfect plan? No. Are there flaws in it? Yes, actually an alarming amount. But at least it's a plan. And as ridiculous as it may be, it's no more ridiculous than whatever the we're doing now. So, you're welcome. We'll be right back.
Hey sports fans, remember this? This week, last year, the NFL announced they would live stream a regular season football game from London on the internet. Holy cow, what a milestone! Surely the teams would be top-notch, and the website world-class. However, the game, Jaguars vs. Bills, broadcast on Yahoo, Yahoo Screen, and Tumblr. But the strangest thing of all, 2 million people watched it, including you. Because despite your best efforts, you couldn't avoid the less than stellar Bortles manual showdown. So stop pretending, sports fans. You actually do remember this.
Oh, welcome back to Garbage Time, guys. NFL. Isn't it great to be talking NFL? It's the beginning of June. We're still almost 100 days away from NFL season, but it's all anyone seems to be talking about. Guys, the NBA Finals start tomorrow. The Stanley Cup Finals are already underway, and the Rio Olympics are either starting in a few weeks or not happening at all. Either way, we should probably be talking about it, but we can't because we're addicted to football. It is bad. It's almost like we should get treatment for it. And you know me. I'm not a talker, I'm a doer, baby, so I took action.
Oh my God, you guys, the Ravens have to forfeit 3 days of OTAs!
Does this look like you?
Yo, did you hear the Pro Bowl's going to Orlando?
Or someone you love?
Yeah, I'm working on the 2017 mock draft right now. I've got Deshaun Watson from Clemson going to the Browns, #1, right? Mom?
If this looks familiar, you might be suffering from football addiction. One problem, the NFL season doesn't start until September 8th. Hi, I'm fake Dr. Katie Nolan, and I'm the inventor of a revolutionary therapy technique called enjoying other sports. Here's how it works. First, we remind you that other sports exist. Then we remind you that we're still months away from football season, and you should probably get a life. Finally, we threaten to tell your friends that you haven't watched the NBA since LeBron was on the Heat, or that you wouldn't recognize Jake Arrieta if he walked into your house wearing a goddamn name tag. But enough from me. Let's hear from some real patients.
When I found myself watching highlights from Raiders OTAs at 4 in the morning, I knew I had to make a change.
I found myself going into the bathroom at work, watching highlights of Kirk Cousins. It was rock bottom for me.
I knew I was addicted to football when I could tell you who the Jaguars drafted in the 5th round, but not who was in the Stanley Cup Finals.
I knew all of Tom Brady's lawyers, but I couldn't name one Toronto Raptor. That's when I knew I had a problem.
This treatment is a home run, a slam dunk, definitely not a touchdown.
Thanks to Dr. Nolan's treatment, I watched the Raptors and Cavs game. Have you ever heard of LeBron? He's electric.
No, I'm exhausted. I stayed up last night watching the Rays versus the Astros.
Thanks to Dr. Nolan, I'm no longer that broken person who actually cares about NFL minicamps.
For more information, go to our website, monthsawayfromfootball.com, and get a free copy of my book, Learning to Love Other Sports. Football doesn't run your life. You do. Take charge of your... Wait, the Saints signed Connor Barth? Why didn't anybody tell me that? Guys, that has huge fantasy implications. See, guys, addiction to football is real, just like my book. Totally real. And a good read. And every day, you guys, we get closer to the cure. This is a book about champagne flutes. Take tomorrow, for instance, when the NBA Finals start. Cavs and Warriors for the 2nd year in a row. And even though Golden State won last year, obviously we're all still rooting for them, right? I mean, they had a historical season. Steph and Clay are ridiculous. And I'm just going to come out and say it. Nobody wants to root for LeBron, okay? We get it, dude. You've been here 6 times in a row. You're good. Enough already. I mean, seriously. Excuse me, Katie? Sorry, I gotta jump in here. Oh, look, everybody, it's Garbage Time correspondent, future Katie. Welcome back. Thanks. Listen, heard you talking about LeBron, and I had to stop you. Katie, you're missing out on your chance to root for the best player you'll ever see. I only have 2 regrets in life. One is not buying all that Dippin' Dot stock back in the day, and the other is not rooting for LeBron when I had the chance. Wow, really? I don't know, the decision, so contrived. Always left a bad taste in my mouth. Oh, I completely forgot about that, since, you know, he ended up back in Cleveland anyway. But he'd been a superstar for like 8 years already at that point. Imagine if we were famous since our junior year of high school. We'd make some dumb decisions too. We probably would have ended up on that show, Celebrity Rehab in Space, by the time we hit 35, like that Bieber guy. Wait, Bieber ended up on... Hold on, sorry, stay on track here. What about LeBron's flopping, though? It's so annoying. He's always whining about not getting calls, and he sells every little foul. Hold on, you're mad at LeBron James, one of the greatest actors of our time, for acting? Okay, that's a hot take. I suppose you also think he should give back the Oscars he won for Space Jam 2? Oh, come on! What about how he treats his teammates? He's always subtweeting Kevin Love and Kyrie. Twitter? You're not gonna root for the greatest of all time because of Twitter? Twitter doesn't even exist anymore. 140 characters. Who has the attention span for that? By the way, please tell your viewers to follow me on Punk'd, the social media service where we communicate entirely in punctuation marks. Wait, Punk'd? Like Ashton Kutcher's TV show? Question mark? Never mind. So you're saying I'm supposed to root against the Warriors? How do you root against Steph Curry? Are you kidding me? Oh man, we could not see this differently. Everyone hates Steph Curry. What? First, there was that chewing on the mouth guard thing. Oh, it's so annoying. And then Riley hit that age where she was just awful, but he kept bringing her to press conferences, even after that embarrassing loss at the spelling bee. And then he just hit every three. So then they make the 4-point line, and he hits every 4. I mean, by the time he started shooting 5s from the stands, I was like, ugh, we get it. Enough of this guy. Man, that does sound bad. Still one thing I can't get over about LeBron, though. What's with his hair? Oh, that I can't defend. Even in the future, that's a medical miracle. All right, future Katie, you've convinced me. I'm going to try to root for LeBron in the finals. Real quick before you go, anything else going on in sports? Not really. But we should be getting a Supreme Court ruling on Deflategate any day now. That's still a thing? I know. Crying LeBron face. Future Katie, everybody! All the way here from the future, buy Dippin' Dots stock. Coming up, I'm adding beer, as usual, and I'm dropping the dictionary. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Garbage Time, guys. It's time for Adron. Basketball's pretty dope. First up, I'm gonna add Cleveland Indian fans for building this insane beer pyramid in the stands last Friday during $2 beer night. That's amazing. The pyramid, as they called it, was made of 112 beers. It was so impressive it even got Major League Baseball to give it a wow. The Cleveland Browns reportedly saw this pyramid and said, oh, build from the bottom up. That makes more sense. And since pyramid should totally be a word, I'm going to drop the Merriam-Webster dictionary, which I'm very comfortable doing after they tweeted this blasphemy out on Friday. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. The hot dog is a sandwich, which of course reminds me of that text I got from my mom, Merry Christmas, you were adopted. Finally, I'm going to add Andre Iguodala, whose Warriors obviously just made the finals again this year, because if they win, I get to force him to drink for the first time ever. Steve Kerr promised. Iguodala has still never had a drink. What's the plan here and how can I help?
Boy, I may need to enlist your services for sure. So next year, if we can somehow pull it off again, win it again, maybe we get Harrison, you, and me in a room together with a bottle of tequila, and we bring Andre into the room.
I mean, who could say no to that? I'm certainly not going to. Champions start with tequila. Let's go! Yeah. And speaking of drinking, I'm going to drop David Letterman for going on ESPN while drunk at the Indy 500 last weekend.
We just got as drunk as you can get without killing yourself from alcohol poisoning. By the way, I'm drunk now.
Good. Well, we wouldn't expect anything less.
David, being drunk on television irresponsible and reflects really, really poorly on you. Can somebody get me another drink? Hey, yes!
We're having one.
All right.
Go for it, all right.
These are cool.
I'll take one when you do.
Chug. This is my job. Touche, Letterman. That's it for Ad Drop. Coming up, thanks, Ford. We still have to crown our garbage time hero of the week. Stick around. Welcome back to Garbage Time, guys. Run out of time in the show, but there's some stuff we didn't cover, so before we go, some shout-outs. First up, shout-out to Joel Embiid, who immediately tried to recruit Kevin Durant to the 76ers. Perhaps Embiid should focus on getting Embiid to play for the Sixers. Shout-out to former Cavs coach David Blatt, who took a new coaching gig in Turkey this week, because between the Knicks or some team in Turkey, the choice was obvious. Shout-out to Odell Beckham Jr., who is rumored to be dating Khloe Kardashian, which I assume was because he was tired of hearing, "What a catch!" Last, a shout out to our Garbage Time Hero of the Week. This week, it's this guy.
It's getting dicey. Wait,
Oh, I can't predict what's going to happen here. Certainly, he's got great balance, and he's going to... Nope. Okay. We knew it was going to happen. We knew it. That's all for this week, guys. Next week on Garbage Time, Jim Harbaugh mud wrestles Nick Saban. The Ringer compares Game of Thrones characters to the Celtics draft picks. And J.R. Smith wins Finals MVP for the Warriors. Thanks to our football addicts this week, especially Ryan Nanny, Nori Davis, and my guy Peter Schrager. Have a great week, guys. Here's more garbage. Go away.
Before Dr. Nolan's, see, I knew it. I knew you jacked me up. I knew you jacked me up.
I'm not saying anything important, but I'm talking with my hands, and so it feels like I'm saying something important.
And I no longer scare my coworkers. The Pro Bowl! No.
Of course, Katie Nolan is a real doctor. Do you think this is some kind of joke?